Fox 5 and Hot 97 present Street Soldiers with Lisa Evers.
I'm so glad you're joining us for this episode of Street Soldiers. We're celebrating Black Trailblazers. You're about to meet three extraordinary individuals who each in their own way are shaping the course of history today. They're living examples of Black excellence. They've all survived tests and challenges in pursuit of their dreams, and in the process, they're making this country a better place for everyone. Encouraging Black boys to pursue medical careers is a mission for Dr. Brian Harper, Chief Medical Officer and Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the New York Institute of Technology. Despite a steadily increasing number of Black men attending college, a study done by UCLA's Geffen School of Medicine found that the disproportionately low number of Black doctors in the United States barely budged in decades. In 2018, when 12.8% of the U.S. population was Black, researchers found Black male doctors comprised only 2.6% of MDs. Dr. Harper takes every opportunity he can to encourage the youth, like speaking at the Black Men White Coats Youth Summit. He believes if they see it, they can be it.
We don't have enough people who are going into the sciences and who are getting to the point where they can apply to medical school and ultimately become quality physicians. So we have to start very early on in grade school, elementary school, to keep people focused, let them understand that they can become physicians.
Community-minded real estate developer Majora Carter says all women need to learn about money and what it can do, no matter what field they decide to pursue. The author of the book Reclaiming Your Community and owner of the Boogie Down Grind and Bronxlandia event space in the Bronx is working every day to make her urban neighborhood vision a reality, a place where people from all income groups can live, work, and play.
I think real estate development, community development, those are the type of things that absolutely need us in order to help make sure that our communities are what they could be.
Brooklyn's own Daquan Thomas has a new role as executive producer of talent for Dick Clark Productions. The major TV production company puts on the New Year's Eve special and many award shows. Thomas is navigating new corporate terrain and is one of very few Blacks in such an influential position, is connecting his colleagues with hip-hop culture. In his previous role as editor-in-chief of Vibe magazine, he brought journalistic integrity to hip-hop and gave respect, recognition, and appreciation to new artists as well as the big stars. Throughout it all, he's always made time to talk to school kids and community groups. His message is all about self-empowerment. He often tells them this:
fear is going to be there, beat it down. Depression is going to be there, find ways to work through it. Your creative structure, find what works for you. How do you work best creatively? How do you work best when it's time for you to attack your studies? Do you have a peer group that's positive?
Get ready to get inspired. Let's get right to it with our panel. Joining me for this conversation is Dr. Brian Harper. He's the Chief Medical Officer and Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the New York Institute of Technology. Dr. Harper, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
We appreciate it. Also with us is Majora Carter. She's a real estate developer, community-minded. You see her book title behind her. She also runs the Boogie Down Grind and Bronxlandia event venue space. Majora, thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure and honor.
We appreciate it. Also with us, Daquan Thomas. He's the executive producer for talent for Dick Clark Productions. Yes, that one, the one you see doing the big New Year's Eve specials, but they do pretty much a lot of big major award shows like the Golden Globes, like the Billboard Awards. Daquan, first of all, congratulations. It's really great to see the progress.
Oh my goodness, Lisa, thank you so much. And you've seen it from the beginning. You've known me forever. So it means the most coming from people that know my journey.
No, thank you so much. And Brooklyn guy making it all the way up, big time in Hollywood. That's awesome.
BK all day.
That's awesome. Daquan, I want to start with you on this because we've seen over the years, especially your journey, your journey as an executive, as a Black male executive in the corporate world with a magazine, and yet still having such close ties and being an integral part of the emergence and development and growth of hip hop. What has kept you going and inspired you throughout this journey?
Oh my goodness. I would have to say what's kept me growing and going is my passion for the music. I really started with DJs, and then I ended up going to college at Baruch College in NYU, And during that time, I was over at Vibe, and I was an intern there. And I just started to realize that if I can be on the block and I can talk about music and be so passionate and argue in the barbershops and on basketball courts and stuff like that, then I can do that in a corporate setting and let people know that our culture is an art form and we're passionate about it just like they are about things that's at the Whitney or at the Met. We take it that serious. And I wanted to be able to be a voice for those that couldn't get that message out like that. And I believe I've done that so far.
Majora Carter, community-oriented real estate developer. That is a very tough field. Especially in New York City, how did you get inspired and become so committed to really creating these new spaces, within the community, especially in the Bronx?
And so Daytwan, I'm going to thank you point blank for giving me like everything. But right now, just that beautiful quote, our culture is an art form. The communities that we are in, that we're often pushed into, that have been, maligned, historically, racially, economically, environmentally, all of those things. And I'm from the South Bronx, so South Bronx all day, all day. But it's clear, like what I decided to do is like when I first started my career, it was in creating, responding to the environmental issues that the city and our state were putting upon us, being a politically vulnerable, poor community of color. And I've since sort of moved that into real estate development because everything is about real estate, everything. Totally. And the way that our communities are developed and defined, the fact that, hip hop, born and bred here, right here in the South Bronx, but a multi-billion-dollar economic engine for lots of folks. We don't really even reap the value, of most of it. Okay, and there's the same way for our community itself. How do we use real estate development and commercially, and also through residential, property development and also ownership? How do we create those spaces that acknowledge that the culture that we have produced, that has been exported all over this world, but doesn't ever really come back to support us? How do we, use just that idea? Can we create the kind of communities where we're benefiting from the fruits of our own labor, from our culture, from recognizing that we can create the kind of communities that we don't have to move out of in order to live in a better one?
Dr. Harper, we're hearing a lot of talk, especially the past couple of years, about the shortage of Black doctors, particularly Black male doctors. And we became aware of your work and your incredible career because of contributions you're making, trying to encourage young students, young kids, to get involved in the sciences and the medical profession. Tell us about your journey.
Originally from Brownsville in Brooklyn, I ended up going to Brown University undergrad, where I majored in biology and Afro-American studies. But from there, I ended up going to medical school at Syracuse, and then came back to start my training at Harlem Hospital. At that time, it was a raging HIV and AIDS epidemic, and we didn't really have good treatments and good medications for it. So I was just able to really sustain people as well as we could. And ultimately, I realized that it was sort of a revolving door. You would take care of patients, they would come back, they would still be ill, you would take care of them, and they would just eventually return. So I decided to go into a career in public health and preventive medicine to see what can we do to prevent people from becoming ill. And that's what put me on this track of public health. And I eventually became the first African-American health commissioner out in Suffolk County, Long Island. When you talk about Black physicians, the numbers have not increased significantly in terms of percentage since 1940. So if you go back to 1940, the percentage of Black physicians was roughly, we're talking about Black male physicians, was roughly about 2.7%. And if you look at the data in 2018, it was still about the same, 2.6%. So that's one of the reasons why I'm very much in favor of things like pipeline programs and getting young people interested in science in general.
There's more to come. Stay with us. Majora, in terms of this idea of people of giving back and coming back to the community, that gets you a little upset. Tell us why.
Think about it. I think it goes way back, to some of the unintended consequences of integration. Like we might have been a racially segregated society. Blacks had to live, together, but we were economically diverse. And I think that there was less of a failure of imagination, that we could be anything we wanted to be. But what happened with integration is just that the part of it was that people felt like they could move wherever they wanted, which we know that was not exactly true. We're still one of the most segregated countries in this entire world. But the point is that what had happened was we used to be able to see that there were doctors, there were developers, there were great musicians, there was all sorts of folks living in the same place, and then there might have been, your uncle that you kind of didn't want to be around at family dinners, but they were still there. These were all your people, and we all got to see each other, and you could aspire to things that you saw because those were inspiring to you. And now, since we've concentrated poverty, segregation still exists in a big, big way. And I think we see it, the impact in our communities. And so that's why they're often considered these one-dimensional places where it's just their poverty, there's really aren't any real educational paths, to support people in them, let alone, economic diversity and diversity of professional
and seeing,
ways to be.
Right. Dajuana, in terms of your journey, especially growing up with hip hop as hip hop grew up, tell us about some of the challenges that you faced, just explaining like, this is, this is what I'm doing. This is how we need to treat this. This is an artist. This is not just some guy off the corner with a microphone. Tell us about that.
I'm from Brooklyn, in particular, linking between Washington and Underhill, right around the corner from the Brooklyn Museum. Most people would have thought like, hey, you're over there because it's the arts and it's cool. It was just as hood and dangerous as any other part of Brooklyn to come up in. And I'm proud of the fact that I was able to get there, get what I needed, but also give back. And to give back is to be able to tell the stories of the artists and the different creators that are connected to hip hop from areas like mine across the country.
Dr. Harper, what about the discrimination in education?
Essentially, part of the problem, and I think you may have heard me speak when I was at Stony Brook talking to this group called Black Men in White Coats. So this was an event to encourage young Black men to go into medicine. And I shared with them along the way, you're going to encounter essentially racist professors. You're gonna run into people who are not interested in seeing you succeed, and somehow you have to work around that and understand that these individuals exist. And if anything, you use that to strengthen your resolve to say, "Hey, listen, I'm going to succeed despite that."
Dr. Harper, in terms of the whole health sphere has gotten so much more attention since the pandemic, especially, and also the disparities in the delivery of health. Have you seen that impacting the desire of young Black men and women to want to get involved in that?
Well, recently, yes, there has been an increased interest in individuals applying to medical school. But in fact, if you look at COVID, there's been an overall more of a loss of practitioners as a result of COVID. So many people were older and they just left the healthcare field entirely. So we have to renew our efforts in order to get people to, continue to want to become physicians. One thing I would say that in addition to pipeline programs, so you want to get individuals interested in science early on, because you can't say, well, I want to be a doctor and your fourth year of college if you haven't done all of the things to get to that point where you can apply and be competitive.
Right.
So we're in the process right now of trying to develop a program, even for undergrad college students, where they can get exposed to the medical school curriculum and the rigors, of medical school, because it's a challenge. Even going from college to medical school, it's a lot more difficult.
Dajuana, what about now in your role in Hollywood? How is your hip hop background prepared you for that? Tell us a little bit about what that's been like for you.
Oh my goodness, the transition has been amazing. And it's been gradual as well. Some people might think that it was like super abrupt. I just left Vibe and went straight over to Dick Clark, but that hasn't been the case. I've been working with Dick Clark Productions since like early 2020, and just as a consulting producer on a bunch of the shows. And a lot of times, just being frank, I'm usually the only Black male in the room. You know, our sensibility coming from hip hop is about doing things kind of like, hey, I know that person, or you know what? I know a way to do that a little bit quicker than how they do in Hollywood. It's been amazing to be able to see how my skills within the media landscape are transferable within, you know, the Hollywood landscape. And it's also like a sensibility. I think in Hollywood, there's a lot of like, just once again, being frank, a lot of stuffiness. And in hip hop, it's a little bit looser. So I'm able to approach some of the people within this space and with new energy. And I would also like to say, like, with new ideas of what to do, who to focus on. Here are some new acts that we should look at. Here's some new themes and new genres of music. And oh, have you seen these Black independent films? Have you seen this director that's really cool that's working on TikTok? All of those type of things, being able to bring all of that. I think like my trend spotting skills have carried me throughout my career, and bringing that over here is going to be my shining star.
That's awesome. Majora, in terms of your work, the real estate field, give us some sense of some of the things that what techniques maybe that you've learned to use when you're not being seen for who you are and what you really do.
Well, I had to learn some techniques because I'm always being seen for who I am, which is a Black woman working in a field that does not respect me and does not expect me to come up in the things that I do. So one of the most beautiful things that I learned is that, because when you do this kind of work and you want people to see you doing it in the hopes that they follow along, I realized that part of what I was doing was not sharing how hard it was. And recently, you know, so we at Bronxlandia, it's an event.
I think that's a female thing too. For a lot
Very,
of women,
very
like we do all these incredible things, and they're like, you know, we're supposed to do it and look good doing it, and you know, not complain about it.
Exactly.
Majora, in terms of what you know now that you would have liked to tell your younger self when you were starting out, is there something you would like to have known?
Two things. One, the practical one, like understanding finance, like that has hurt me in every sense of the word. The second thing is just remembering who you are when you walk into a room, and that is the value that you bring. And don't ever forget that you were divinely made to do what you do.
Dr. Harper, for yourself, what advice do you have for people? Or is there something you look back down and you go like, man, if I'd known that when I was 21?
Right. I think broadening sort of my horizons in terms of meeting other people outside of the science or the medical field. If you really want to have an impact on health overall, it's not simply treating patients, but you have to have an understanding of all of those other dynamics that tie into having improved community health. And I can talk about some experiences that I've had where essentially we've worked with the community. I was working at a cancer center in Harlem, and we worked with the local musicians. So we had hip hop artists. We had worked closely with the NBA. LeBron James came to our center, and we worked with them to encourage people to be screened for cancer. So it has to be a community effort if you really want to reduce or improve some of these health indices.
Dayton, what about you in terms of getting started in journalism? Do you still think that was the best foundation for you for everything that you're doing now?
Oh, no question. Journalism is the foundation. I mean, being able to get information out to people will make you a resource for people to come to you with more information. And I think it also allowed me to, in a way, go to a different kind of school. People don't realize that some of the biggest hip hop artists are the best business people that you can go to. You know, they've gone through so many different ups and downs and beating fear and finding the money and getting the talent and putting it out and marketing the right way and then performing it all. If you get to talk to some of these people that we look at and they only have on the big chains, and you don't realize that they have some big brains too. I've been able to kind of move and get around in that way because I've gotten gems from them as well. But what I would tell my younger self is to beat back the fear. Any kind of fear, stepping into that room, you know, saying like, you know, I might not belong here. No, you belong, Day, and continue to belong.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Street Soldiers as we celebrate Black Trailblazers. You can watch this show again and share it on our Fox 5 NY YouTube page. Remember, use your mind, it's your best weapon. I'm Lisa Evers. Let's push for peace, love, and justice for all.